It's okay, I'm listening.
So my frustration with that, this is the example that I use. Everyone has a good reason for doing something. Everyone has a good reason for committing a crime, right? Drug dealers are dealing drugs just to give their family a better life. Just because you have a valid reason to steal doesn't mean you're allowed to steal. And that's my only frustration with this consistent conversation. It's like, I get it. Life is hard in other places. I'm not disagreeing with that. I will never downplay that. But that does not mean that people should be allowed to disrespect our borders and disrespect the process and cut in line over people that are doing it the right way.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Grab a seat and settle in, because this one is a ride. Today, we're dropping into a room where one woman, Marian, is sitting across from a panel of 4 sharp, passionate opponents who could not disagree with her more. The topic? Whether America's homelessness and housing crisis is tangled up with illegal immigration. And Marian isn't backing down an inch, even when the whole table turns toward her at once. What you're about to see is a real estate agent who works this market every day, going toe-to-toe with people who came armed with a completely different story. Trust me, you'll want to ride this all the way through, because the second half is where the argument really tightens and nobody walks away unchallenged. Before we jump in, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, so drop your city or country in the comments. It always blows me away seeing how far this community reaches. Alright, enough from me. Let's get into it.
Sure. So, one, all of those things are correct, right? You're not making stuff up. Obviously, we know, like, one of the huge things that I'm excited about that Trump is suggesting is putting a stop to institutions buying single-family homes.
It's one of the only things that Trump has said that I agree with.
All right, see, look, I knew we could come to a place.
See, as long as she's not in it, we can have a good conversation.
Come back to me, come back. So, however, as a real estate agent, let me tell you my direct experience on the ground in New York City. What happens a lot of the time, especially with asylum seekers, is when they come, they will get together and they will happily rent a room in a 2, 3, 4 bedroom apartment. When that happens, the 4 of you over there, you can easily afford $700 each. But as a unit, a 4 bedroom that is, $2,800 is a lot more difficult for a family to afford to live in. So when we're talking about the rising costs, when we're talking about the rents and how they keep going up, the question should always come down to who's able to afford it and how. And when we're looking at illegal immigrants, they are going under the table. They might, they're not getting approved for these apartments, traditionally. So they're happy to pay for just a room. And I challenge you, go on Facebook Marketplace in New York City and see how many advertisements are listed in Spanish or in Russian or something, because they're specifically targeting.
Okay, so I just want to respond to that claim because I'm actually from New York City myself. I'm
yes,
from
ma'am. Where?
Yes, I'm from Brooklyn Heights.
Yes, I'm from Fort Greene.
Yeah, okay, yes. Yeah. I was in Brooklyn Heights and then we moved to Fort Greene. Yes, I was right next to Bed-Stuy. Okay, so we know the same neighborhoods. My family was priced out, and we weren't priced out by immigrants, actually, legal or illegal. We were priced out by white people moving from the Midwest.
Sure.
It was gentrification, which again is a result of the real estate industry favoring the 1%. I don't think it's fair to blame people who do not have control of the supply and demand for housing. And to the point about New York, I personally experienced that. And I know we did not lose our home to illegal immigrants or immigrants of any kind. We lost our home to other Americans who could afford the cost of living that we couldn't. So
sure.
I just, again, I know it's anecdotal, but
let me be clear. You're talking about a neighborhood that has been gentrified. So when I'm talking about placing homeless people, when I'm talking about people that can barely afford a house, they're not looking in the gentrified neighborhood.
But gentrification contributes to homelessness. Like our neighborhood, people who lived in our neighborhood would become homeless once it was gentrified because they could afford it and now they can't. Again, it all goes back to a lack of
That's a deeper conversation, because one of the huge reasons that I no longer vote Democrat in New York City is because Democrat laws are horrible for tenants. They do not help down the line, and they cause this inflation and this gentrification that we're seeing. That said, when we look, again, I'm talking about people who are not supposed to be here. And that's the number one thing that I think everyone needs to acknowledge. They are literally not supposed to be in the country, right? So this is my opinion, any homes that they are taking is taking a house or an apartment away from someone that might be able to use it.
Okay.
You want to know why this whole exchange matters? Because Marian is the only person in that room actually doing the job everyone's arguing about. When Marian said this, as a real estate agent, let me tell you my direct experience on the ground in New York City. That's not a talking point. That's somebody who signs leases for a living telling you what she sees every single day. And here's what people don't realize. The whole panel keeps treating housing like a math problem on a whiteboard, while Marion is describing the actual market as it works. When she explained that asylum seekers will get together and they will happily rent a room in a 2, 3, 4-bedroom apartment, that is a real dynamic, not a smear. 4 people splitting one unit can outbid a single family every time. That is not cruelty, that is arithmetic. A family needs the whole place. A group splitting rent only needs a room each. You do not have to be an economist to see who gets squeezed out of that competition. And then Marion drops the line that hit me hardest. I no longer vote Democrat in New York City is because Democrat laws are horrible for tenants. That is someone who used to stand on the other side, telling you exactly why she walked. People who change their vote usually have a reason built from experience, not from a mood. She lived under those policies and left. This is the part that blows my mind. She is standing alone against 4 people and still anchoring every claim in what she has personally witnessed. So when Marion says any homes that they are taking is taking a house or apartment away from someone that might be able to use it, you can argue the scale, but the floor of that point stands firm.
I got you.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that, I just want to put out there that, correlation is not causation. And it does take a lot of bravery to kind of, string these things together and, come against 4 of us and have these conversations. So I really appreciate that you did that, because when I read your prompt, I had no idea that people were conflating these things. So with that being said, I do think that we built a system of housing that is motivated by the desire to make profit, right? So when we are holding up a capitalistic system, we are going to favor tenants that can pay this price. And I wish I knew you were from New York, because I kind of came with anecdotal information from Los Angeles. I am the very proud daughter of somebody who was not supposed to be here and was here anyway. I think of it as a different way. I think of it in the sense that if you were from Michigan and those winters were really tough to brace, and you're well, okay, let's come to California, because
That wouldn't be breaking the law.
okay, well, so all right, that's good.
Let's be fair here.
I appreciate the back and forth, but the thing is that we as humans, we decide what is law and what isn't. So people native to the Americans, they have been moving across borders for generations and for millennia.
I never said I'm against immigration.
No.
I'm specifically speaking about illegal immigration.
I understand, and I don't think that you are against immigration, because you clearly just said that before. But what I am saying, as part of the diaspora, which I am a part of, as a part of the diaspora, the poverty that these families went through to make the decision that you're going to leave your family, you're going to leave your community, you're going to leave everything that you know to go in search of the pursuit of the American dream, is something that needs to be acknowledged. And then not only that, is that when we are...
I'm so sorry. I want to say something, but I don't want you to feel like you're being cut off.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm listening.
So my frustration with that, this is the example that I use. Everyone has a good reason for doing something. Everyone has a good reason for committing a crime, right? Drug dealers are dealing drugs just to give their family a better life. Just because you have a valid reason to steal doesn't mean you're allowed to steal. And that's my only frustration with this consistent conversation. It's I get it. Life is hard in other places. I'm not disagreeing with that. I will never downplay that. But that does not mean that people should be allowed to disrespect our borders and disrespect the process and cut in line over people that are doing it the right way.
This is the moment the whole debate cracks open. The panel spends minutes building this emotional case about hardship and sacrifice, and Marion answers it with one of the cleanest reframes I have heard on this topic. When Marion said this, everyone has a good reason for committing a crime. People clutch their pearls but slow down and actually sit with it, because here is what she is really getting at. She follows it with, drug dealers are dealing drugs just to give their family a better life. And you know what? That is true. Almost nobody who breaks a rule sees themselves as the villain. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a reason. The hardship is real, and Marion even says she will never downplay it. She is not pretending the pain is fake. But then comes the line that does all the heavy lifting. Just because you have a valid reason to steal doesn't mean you're allowed to steal. And that is the sentence the other side cannot answer. Because the entire argument they brought to the table was, these people are suffering, therefore. Marion just exposed the gap inside that sentence. Suffering explains a choice. It never authorizes it. Those are 2 completely different things, and the whole panel collapsed them into one. You have to understand why this lands so hard. They wanted to make the night about compassion versus cruelty. Marian flipped it into something far harder to escape. Does a good reason erase a rule for everyone or just for some people? And when she closes with that, does not mean that people should be allowed to disrespect our borders and disrespect the process and cut in line over people that are doing it the right way. She is pointing straight at the people nobody on that stage stood up for. The immigrants who waited, who filed, who did the paperwork. Those people got skipped, and somehow defending them became the controversial take.
Well, maybe if you were in favor of giving those countries aid, they wouldn't feel the need to come here illegally.
We give the most aid out of the entire world.
Well, you just said you wanted us not to do that.
Sorry, just to kind of have a timeout and like call in to like call back to the conversation that we're having. I understand that you feel that like the border is a matter of respect and that that there's certain values that you hold to it. And again, like I admire that. I admire you having your values and your beliefs. But at the same time, where I'm balancing it off is that America spent so much money and currently is spending money in destabilizing regions in Central, South America, and the Middle East, right? So it comes to a point where, to give you an example about Chile, right? Like in Salvador Pinochet, when we put our hands in because like we don't like the leadership that they have and our partners that are committing violent actions in abroad with our tax dollars, by the way, that we put in, including illegal immigrants, which it is in 2022, illegal immigrants put $8.5 billion into that bucket. So we went ahead and we made military actions against other places. And at some point, it's like, you need to be safe.
Watch what happens at the very end, because this is where the argument folds in on itself. The panel pivots to a brand new idea when one of the women says, maybe if you were in favor of giving those countries aid, they wouldn't feel the need to come here illegally. And Marian does not even flinch. She fires straight back with, we give the most aid out of the entire world. And she is not inventing that. Here's the piece most people genuinely never learned. The United States has been the single largest provider of foreign assistance on the planet going all the way back to the rebuilding of Europe after the Second World War. The Marshall Plan poured billions into shattered nations to put them back on their feet. And that posture of America, as world's wallet, basically never switched off. So when someone suggests the magic fix is just send more money abroad, Marian is quietly pointing at decades of receipts that already exist. But here is the part that really gets me. The same side that wanted less American involvement overseas 1 minute earlier suddenly wants more American money shipped overseas to fix the problem. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot say America meddles too much and say America should be funding everyone's stability. Pick a lane. That whiplash is exactly why I think Marian held up so well. She stayed locked on one consistent idea the entire time, while the panel kept swapping frames every single time she answered one. And honestly, the fact that she did all of this outnumbered, calm, and rooted in her actual day job is what makes it stick. You do not have to agree with every word to notice that she argued from experience while a lot of the answers came from theory. That is the difference between someone who has lived it and someone who has only read about it. The strongest debaters are never the loudest ones in the room. They are the ones still standing on the exact same ground at the end that they planted their feet on at the start. Marian did that, and she did it alone. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.